a leader to trust and to help them succeed. Oh, let's ride some horses, that look in their eye. So saddle me up and let's go for a ride.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ridin Horses. All right, we're out here today. This is our first day with Che, this little red roan filly that we got from the Purina Animal Nutrition Center. We're going to, I'm going to move her around a little bit. We're going to saddle her and kind of introduce her to the program today. We're about to run out of daylight today, so I doubt that I ride her today, but we will go ahead and get her saddled, let you guys watch that process. I'll just kind of walk you through. We've shot a lot of video, guys, of getting horses started, introducing horses to the saddle, so I'm not going to go into a lot of depth on that. We'll just move her around here a little bit. This mare's pretty quiet. Obviously, she's been handled. She's broke the lead. She's not afraid of humans. They handled her quite a bit at the research center there in Gray Summit. All I'm going to do right here is just move her around a little bit. Maybe more than anything, maybe I'm just thinking about using up a little energy as far as her energy tank is concerned. I've had this filly saddled one time before. It's been probably a month ago, because I've been traveling quite a bit since then, so I just don't want this filly fresh while I'm trying to get a saddle on her. It's a really good idea with all your horses, especially young horse that you're saddling for the first time. There's no sense in trying to put a saddle on a young horse, or any horse for that matter, that's got so much energy they can't stand still. Even if you time to fence and do it, I'm not a big fan of that. We'll do that as our horses get a little bit further along in the process. But I'm not tying my horse to a fence to saddle him up, because he won't stand still. Moving this filly around a little bit. I'm going to push on her a little bit so she'll get out there and lope around some. Kind of see her full of herself there as I speed this string up on the end of this stick. So she's flowing around this round pen. She's clearly not looking for a way to get out. Half the time she's not even against the fence. She's just kind of flowing around here. But again, this isn't a filly that's never been handled. She'd been handled before I got her. Handled quite a bit, I would say, as a baby. I'm going to move her around a little bit with this rope. Use the noise of this rope to get her moving here a little bit, and then I'll just pitch a loop over and let her wear it, and we'll move her around a little bit with this rope on her. So really all I'm thinking today, since I've got Miss Purina in here with me, I'm gonna get this mare, this filly, where I can make some noise, move around. I can accomplish both of those things with this rope. I can make a lot of noise and a lot of movement with this rope. But being able to do it off of another horse is going to give old Shay here an opportunity to see it from this level, which is what it's going to look like when we crawl on her. So I really like to take advantage of working these colts, these young horses, off of another horse for that reason. You know, as I pull up beside her there and she stopped, I'm just making some noise and movement with this rope, swinging it right there. You can clearly see it didn't bother her too much. Next time around here, I will pitch a loop on her so we can let her feel this rope down around her butt. I like the fact that I can use this rope, the noise and movement of this rope, to move this filly around. That didn't kind of work out like I planned. She just kind of spit that loop right back at me. We'll try that again. Even though I threw this loop at her and it kind of startled her when it touched her, you can clearly see that it didn't just spook the daylights out of her, or she wouldn't be standing there like that as I'm swinging it. Mind me next time to turn my phone off so it's not dinging at me the whole time. Again, I just squeeze in on her here a little bit so you guys can see. I'm gonna move her off from that spot. She come off the fence right there. Probably could have just rode up beside her and slipped my loop over her head, standing right over here about this spot next to the fence. But I'm not opposed to throwing it up there. Make a little noise here, move it around a little bit. I'm not opposed to throwing a loop on one. Kind of gives me an idea of when something like that comes into the picture, how much does it startle them. So you guys can see she's really going to be a wild one. ahead and step over here and we'll send her the other way. Let her step over that loop like that, or that rope. I got a long enough rope here that I can let her move just about anywhere in this round pen, and I don't have to get in a hurry to keep up with her, which is really handy. A lot of times we'll do this off of another young horse that doesn't have very many rides. Just the fact that we don't have to be moving around really quick can kind of let us come in here and get some stuff done on a young green horse while we're trying to get another one started. I can have this colt on the end of this rope out there to lope, and I'm just walking around in here slow in the middle. Not too worried about where I'm at. You know, I can get far enough in front of this mare's drive line that I can get her to change directions. Go ahead and step in here. Get her to turn away from me here. I didn't mean to whack the horse I was sitting on. And you can kind of see where that Honda's laying right there. Just because of the spot that it's in makes it kind of tough for me to get that rope down where I'd like it to be, which would be over the hip. That breeze is blowing. I'd like to get it like that, going the other way. Well, that doesn't always happen. Guess this is as good a time as any to put the old phone on silent so I can finish what I started. Good grief, you'd think I'd been in front of a camera long enough now to know to turn my phone off. Oh well, welcome to the reality of life, huh? So now I got that Honda on the other side, which makes it a lot easier for me to get my rope laying right there, down around behind her butt, going this way, which is what I was trying to accomplish a second ago. I just wasn't having much luck. Not very handy operating this rope backwards, left-handed. Still want this filly going this way. Again, all I'm trying to do is just pull on this rope a little bit, let her feel it back there, and really just move this mare around a little bit more. Kind of get stepped over there and get that blocked off. She's going to want to turn right there. We'll just go ahead and help her through that turn there with my rope. I might pull on this rope just a little bit. It's going to feel a little bit different down here and around the base of her neck versus up there tied to that halter. Give me a chance to kind of tug on her a little bit right here. Now you can see, as much as I'd like to, I could take a dally around the saddle horn and kind of pull on her a little bit, but I'm choosing to just do it with my hand. I'm just moving this gray horse around to different angles. There we go. Just kind of pulling on that a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll see if I can't just leave old Gray here kind of out of the picture. If she can just kind of stand there and wait. I'm gonna put this lead rope on this filly, make a little more noise with this rope. We'll go ahead and tie this saddle on. You guys can see one thing to be aware of. When I come up here and I was trying to get this lead rope off the fence, I kind of had it over my stick. It was kind of tangled up, so I took this rope, guys. I want you guys to see this. Get her out of the way here. Just wait on me here a second, Mom. I took this rope and I just laid it over my arm like that. Now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 coils right there laid over my arm. This mare goes to take off. Yeah, I know the rope's in her mouth, but I didn't set that up. I'm gonna let her find her way out of it. If she was to go to take off and I had that rope, these coils just laid over my arm, there's a really good chance, guys, one of them coils or all 7 of them could come down tight around my arm. So I just want to make sure anybody watching right there is aware of what could happen with all these coils in this rope, as I just laid them there over my arm. As quiet as this mare was, I didn't really think it was going to be that big of a deal. Had I been dealing with a colt that was maybe a little bit more sensitive, not quite as quiet and relaxed as her, I probably wouldn't have even laid those coils over my arm. Now I'm just going to kind of tap on her with this rope, rub her everywhere where my saddle's going to be. Stirrup's going to be hanging off that other side. I'm actually using this rope as my brush as well. Before I put my pad up here. She's pretty good about that. Tell you what I'm gonna do. We'll just tie this rope back on this gray mare. So I'll have this rope once I get back on. Get this roan mare saddled and turned loose. I'm gonna want that rope back, so I'm just gonna let old Gray hold it for me. Now I don't have a lunge line over here with me. I like to usually put a lunge line around them like so, kind of pull on it to make sure I'm going to be able to tighten my cinch without them blowing up and kicking or bucking right here while I'm trying to tighten a cinch. So she's kind of getting the shorter version of it with me just using my lead rope. And like I said, I've had this filly saddled one other time. Now as you can see, as I'm throwing this up here, she's not too bothered by it. Now I'm just throwing it up there like I've had it on her 50 times. There's no sense in beating around the bush with this filly, trying to just sneak something up on her. when I did saddle her up, that first time I took that saddle that day and I swung it on and off of her multiple times off both sides. So today I'm just gonna go ahead and tie it on there. Again, you can see she's not too awful bothered. Once I go to tightening this thing up, all I really want to do is just make sure that I get it. Let's not chew on my saddle too bad. Get it snug where I can keep the saddle in place. I love to turn my horses loose when I first saddle them. They can do whatever they feel like they need to do. I just got to make sure I got my saddle tied on where it'll stay in place. Now, let's say this mare was a lot more sensitive about what I'm doing. I would make sure that her head stays over here with me a lot more than what I am. I'm standing on one side, she gets that head off over there on the other side, kind of loses sight of me. If she's very sensitive, she picks me back up in this eye over here. If her head was on the other side, or vice versa like she was, like right there, she's lost sight of me out of this left eye, she picks me back up, maybe that scares her. It's really not that big a deal on this filly. She has been handled that much, so it's not as big a deal. But even the fact that she's not one to just spook and get startled by losing me in that eye, if her head's over there and she did get startled and she jumped, she kicked, it'd be a whole lot easier for this filly to kick me if her head was over there and I'm standing over here, that butt just swing into me, versus if I've got the nose over here with me, I can do a much better job keeping that hip from swinging over here into me, getting myself kicked or something. Now I'm going to adjust my back cinch over here. I went up one too high. As you can see, she's not on the working side of this. She's just playing around here, wanting to chew on everything, but I'm not going to beat on her too bad for that today. Literally, I'm not going to get after her too much for that. I will discourage it. And for the most part, I'm just going to get her going, give her something to do. I had her loose. Before you put the saddle on, she rolled one time while I was setting the camera up. I'm not going to let her roll with this saddle on. Step back in here close. This mare doesn't know a whole lot about respecting my space. I think I'm going to go ahead and pull that cinch one more hole just to be safe. I'd rather be safe than sorry as far as my cinch tight enough to keep my saddle on. Now, as I step over here to this gray mare and she comes with me, I might just encourage her to go somewhere else. And again, depending on the horse, a horse that's a little more sensitive than she is, maybe I don't turn loose of her like that in the middle with this gray mare standing over there. Maybe I go get this gray mare and I crawl up on her here in the middle with me first while I still have a hold of that roan filly. If that mare was sensitive like some that maybe haven't been handled as much as her, I turn her loose there for the first time and she goes to moving around, feeling those cinches, and goes to bucking. And my gray mare's standing over there next to the fence. I mean, it's not the end of the world. good chance that roan filly could come by there and buck right into her. Again, it's not really the end of the world, but horse could get kicked. You know, when it comes to all that, I'm trying to do my best to not get either one of them injured. I really didn't feel like it was going to be a big deal today, so I didn't really worry about it. But again, it's all stuff that I'm going to have to be aware of. I've saddled enough colts to darn sure notice some things I've got myself in trouble with in the past. I haven't saddled enough horses to have everything figured out by any means, but I have figured a few things out, and most of the time the stuff I figured out was from getting myself in a darn mess. Again, all I'm really thinking now is just give this filly a chance to wear that saddle around. I didn't expect her to do any more than she has today. I really think this filly has the potential to be a super nice horse. And I've always enjoyed or been blessed with the chance to get some horses from the Farina Nutrition Center over the last several years, because none of these horses are horses like this gray mare. When I got her, she was 5 years old. She'd never been saddled, but they'd handled her since she was a baby, doing what they do with their horses there at the nutrition center, where they can monitor what their weight gain is. You know, they were using this gray mare to taste test new feeds and stuff like that. So she'd been handled a bunch, but never saddled. But the blessing of it is really the fact that how they handle them, okay? These horses had been handled since they were babies, but they hadn't been spoiled. What you guys are seeing here today, and we filmed this gray mare too when we started her, but this gray mare was 5, this roan filly here is 2. This gray mare was a little bit more sensitive about some stuff just because she was a little bit older. This 2-year-old filly here is a really good example of letting you guys see they had handled her, and handled her in a manner where I can just come out here and put a saddle on her and she flow around this round pen this smooth and fluid. We'll see if we can't get her to stop. She's about more playful than anything else. She loped around there, and she did change directions when I got over here in front of the drive line. But she really wasn't interested in stopping and resting, okay? Today, I don't have the intent to ride her today. We might save that for tomorrow. There, she was a little more interested in stopping and resting. What I'm introducing her to today is not just the saddle, but the concept of maybe me putting her to work and maybe getting her moving around enough to where maybe this idea of slowing down and stopping and resting when I ask might become a little bit more appealing. I'd say up till this point, she hasn't been asked to work, so she's got more of a playful mentality than anything. I'll just back over here in front of her. There, she's gonna come to a rest, I think. Yeah. I really like that, how she turned to me. And you guys can kind of see her mind working there, ears working, her head come down a little bit, licking her lips. Now I'm going to step over here. I got one more thing I want to put on her today, which would be this snaffle bit that I got hanging right here that doesn't have any reins on it. I'm just going to hang a snaffle bit in her mouth. I'm just going to let her wear it around. I'm not going to tie any reins to it today. I don't even know if I'm going to do much with my lead rope. I might put my lead rope on her here in a minute from up here and move her around a little bit. Just leave that. Now, if I got another horse in here with me and I step off, like I'm going to step over and put this snaffle on this filly, and I'm leaving this mare loose, I always make sure that I lay my reins up over my saddle horn. Let's say I get over here and I'm trying to put this snaffle on, this mare gets spooked, and she starts bucking, she takes off, she comes over here and she's running at this mare. I want this mare to have the freedom to be able to get out of her way and to move around and not get hung up on them reins because I've just dropped my darn rein. It's a little bit easier there today. My boys have their roping rein on that bridle, so I just got a solid rein there on her today, so I can just lay it up over that saddle horn. Day one for the snaffle bit. She's never had a bit in her mouth till right there. I wish I could say it was always that easy to put a bit in a horse's mouth for the first time. Wasn't super pretty. I wasn't really worried about where her head was, but it normally doesn't happen that easy. Them horses are usually trying to get away from you with their head a little bit more than that. Again, the reins are off that snaffle. I don't even have a chin strap on that snaffle. No intent to ride with it, just want her to pack it around a little bit. It's a little bit lighter weight than the ones that I typically ride with. Okay, she's getting introduced to the feel of that snaffle, that mouthpiece laying on top of her tongue. She's doing a pretty good job there keeping her tongue underneath it. I've got that bit lifted up maybe just one hole higher than what I would typically ride with, but in the beginning when I'm introducing them to the snaffle, I might raise it up a little bit higher just to make it harder for them to get their tongue over the top of that mouthpiece. I think I'll climb back on here and pull this rope down and maybe do a little bit more moving her around with this rope. Go put this stick down. So today I'm using this rope to actually move her around. My intent when I get on her is I will take this rope with me, okay? Might even use this rope some when I'm on her here in the beginning to help get her moving around like that. So I'm not just trying to get this mare where she'll just stand here and go to sleep with me swinging this rope around. I don't mind that she's moving at all today. She's not afraid of the noise and movement of this rope. She will move off of it a little bit, but you can see right here as I close in on her a little bit how it's clearly not spooking her. But I really think that there's times where I get up there and I've got this rope with me and maybe I'm on one for the first time and They're kind of struggling, getting freed up, moving out a little bit with me up there. And if I've kind of started in the beginning, even before I crawled on, using this rope in a manner to help her get relaxed to it, but not dead to it, I could potentially get up there and just go to move this rope around a little bit. Maybe while I'm sitting up there, you know, playing around with my loop, adjusting my coils, swinging my loop, she might just go to trotting or loping around like she is right there, just off of what I'm doing with this rope. That gives me a chance, guys, to be sitting up there for the first time, not having to kick a whole bunch with my legs, not having to worry about bringing up a whole bunch of life through my body, not worrying about having to spank a bunch back here to get her moving. I can just kind of stand here and do that. So I'm kind of using this rope today, setting me up for tomorrow. If tomorrow's going to be the day that I crawl on, where I could just take this rope with me, play around with this rope some. Now I'm just going to kind of pull up here beside her. I'm going to swing it a little bit right here. If she leaves, it's no big deal at all. If she'll stay, I'm going to take it. Right here, I'm standing at an angle where I don't necessarily think that I am in front of her drive line. I've got part of the horse that I'm sitting on in front of that filly's drive line, which could sure be helping her stay there right here while I'm swinging this rope. Now I'm going to go ahead and back this gray mare up a little bit and squeeze in a little bit tighter, and I'll use that rope to send her off. Use that rope in a manner where all I was doing was just swinging it, movement, swinging it fast enough she could hear it. There's my noise of my movement. Okay, there she's just kind of playing around with the feel of that back cinch. Before I really understood much about getting a horse's mind where I needed it to be, I'd come in here and I'd start a horse, and I'd be so busy and I'd move them around so much that they'd be spent before I even got in the saddle. Then once I got up there and I tried to get them to move, I couldn't hardly get them to move, especially if I was by myself. And if I had somebody else, it would be a little bit easier, but I've learned enough causing that quite a bit in the past. I've learned enough now to be able to set it up a little bit better. I haven't got it all figured out by no means, but I find myself now leaving a little bit more life in my horse, setting things up. For example, with this rope right here, just swinging that loop, getting her to leave off of that. Because I promise you, if I can make use of that when I get up there that first time, guys, where I don't have to do much, if she'll move off this rope, it's almost like I'm setting this up to where I could use the rope as I might ask somebody else. If, let's say tomorrow I was out here and I crawled on that filly, and maybe I put my brother up here on this mare and I gave him this rope, okay, he'd come in and he'd use this rope just like I am. I'm not going to set it up that way, so it's just going to be me. But if I've introduced her to this rope in a manner to where I could get up there and she's not afraid of it, but she would maybe move off the noise and movement just a little bit, it'll kind of have the same feel to it as if I had somebody else out here pushing her around for me. We're going to go a little bit the other way, and I'm probably going to call it a day for what we were trying to accomplish today. Just wanted her to get the feel of this saddle. Now I am going to ask her to get to a lope going this way as well. because I'm going to take this approach. The first time I crawl on this filly, I am going to ask her to lope around, okay? We'll walk, we will trot, and we will lope. I'm dealing with an animal that wants to be mobile. I'm dealing with an animal that has a spirit that wants to be able to move around. Okay, the spirit of the horse, I often define it as being mobile. Okay, the last thing I want to do when I crawl on one is tell them they can't be mobile. That's really good. We'll go ahead and leave old Gray right here. Way to overexert yourself there, Mom. Show you how I'll finish this today. Old Che, you've done well. I can't wait to get you rolling, because what I see in you looks like you're going to have a mighty big future, providing I don't get in your way. Sorry guys, I got to pick up a few things here in my round pen, but kind of give this filly a chance to just kind of hang out. She's done really well. Okay, so I'm not going to use this rope anymore today swinging it, but here's something I am going to do with it. That's always a good sign. Saddling a young horse for the first time, and as I'm going through the process, they're standing around here yawning. I really like to see that. Horse is anxious, scared, nervous, any of that, they're not going to be yawning. So all I'm going to do with this loop, or this rope, is I'm just going to go up overhead some. Got my lead rope on here where I can kind of direct her nose a little bit. I'm not going to swing it anymore today, because like I said, I'm probably going to make use of this rope when I get up there. All I'm doing right here when I threw my loop over that first time, she wasn't really sure of it. Just the way she shook her head, she threw that loop right back at me. Okay, I just want her good, or at least a little bit relaxed, with this rope being around her head. As I swing it, I'm swinging it up overhead. I'm gonna swing it so it'll come around. Literally, the loop will fall over her head while I'm on her. So we'll do some of that, and then I might take this rope, just rub her with it. I'll rub her back here. Now I want you to watch something, because I can start the process of this right here today. If I'm rubbing back here, just relax. That's all I'm really saying. If I'm rubbing, you can just stand here and relax. But if I bring up some life back here, I'm going to go ahead and get her thinking, okay, if there's rhythm back there, regardless of what it's through, what's he asking for? I'm going to show her that if she'll bring some life up in her feet, that I'll take the life out of that rope. I'll reward her for bringing some life up in her feet. I'm getting a little bit shorter on my lead rope. She doesn't have much concept of moving around my space yet, moving around me, not crowding me with the shoulder. She'll really crowd a person with her shoulder. See how she steps into me with her shoulder right there? I'm not going to make a huge deal out of it today. If it was any worse than that, I might address it a little bit different than I am today. But I'm kind of stepping in a position where I'm getting a little bit behind that shoulder. And as she goes, I don't ask her to go far. I tip her nose to me. I might just step away from her like I did right there. I'm just trying to show her that if I bring some life and rhythm up back there, I want you to bring up some life and rhythm. Now I'm going to just lay my rope back there and I'm going to rub on her till she stops. Okay? So I'll build me a loop with this rope and I'll use that to help get this filly moving. And then I'll just coil it all up and maybe I'll just use it back here. If I'm rubbing, I just want you to relax. Took a big deep breath right there. If I bring up some life and rhythm in my rope, life and rhythm in the feet. It'd be the exact same way. Sorry, Mom. Can't lay down just yet. It would be the exact same way with my dressage whip. Okay, when I put it back there, she started to walk off. So I'm just gonna rub on her. Got my lead rope tipped enough where I could just tip her nose this way. I'm gonna tip the nose a little bit more just because she's leaning on it right there. Main reason I want that nose tipped to me is because I don't want to get kicked. There we go. And then I'll just step back here and lead her through. Really good day. We'll finish with one more little thing here, then we'll call it a day. We'll pull this saddle off. Just gonna take this lead rope. It is long enough. I'm gonna run it down here around behind her butt where I had my rope earlier. I'm just gonna ask this mare to follow that around there, find her way off that. Good job, Mom. As she kind of walked over here, she just kind of walking off. Again, she's been handled, but she hasn't been taught a whole lot about the idea of what's the purpose in all this, the concept of the responsibility in a day's work. That mare's standing behind me. Her idea of work when I got her was taste testing new feed. So when we started riding her and introducing her to the concept of being saddled and carrying a rider, I mean, she'd look at me like, you've lost your mind. "5 years old versus 2 years old. That mare was a little more set in her ways about things when we got her and we started getting her transitioned into being a horse we could ride versus just a horse we could feed. I really don't know how you can ask one to be much better than what this roan filly has showed us today. Again, I didn't expect it to be any different. I just wanted to video it so you guys could see day one, because we plan on videoing as much as we possibly can with this mare as we go along, so you guys can see the different stages, so you guys can see what we're doing as we transition from one level to another. want you guys to be able to see spots where she's a little bit stuck. We're trying to get her to turn loose of some brace, some resistance. She doesn't know how. We want you guys to be able to see that, because I'm not interested in showing you guys just a finished product, because everything that I'm trying to work on myself in and what I'm trying to learn the most is in the process, not just getting her to a point where I can go do all this stuff. How in the world do you teach somebody else to get a horse to that point if you never show them? I slipped that headstall off over her ears and she was trying to, I don't need you chewing on my headstall. She was trying to rub on me with her head. I just took my hand over there. I still had the bit in her mouth and I was just holding it over here. Her head was right here. She was trying to come to me with her head, but she'd run into that bit because I was holding the top of that headstall way out over here with her head here, just waiting for her to kind of move her head in the direction of my hand and stop rubbing on me. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn her completely loose. Good job, Mom. If she wants to go lay down and roll now, she can go roll all she wants now that I've taken everything off. Got two more horses standing right here on the other side of this round pen. She's just standing there looking at them right there, but that's about as easy as it gets, guys. Again, this was day one for Che in her education. The fact that she didn't buck, she didn't ever really get scared, the fact that she didn't do any of that doesn't make her something super special or mean she's so much better than the rest. A horse goes to bucking, they get startled when you saddle them for the first time. They do any of that. That doesn't mean they're not good horses. That just means they're doing what they think they need to do to get through the situation that they're in. That's what horses do. This filly's been handled enough before I got her at the Purina Animal Nutrition Center that she really wasn't in a frame of mind to worry about this saddle and what it felt like when I put it on her. This was the second day she's been saddled. I had saddled her one time in the past about a month ago, but I'm going to try to stay more consistent. Hopefully we can get back out here tomorrow and saddle her again and ride her for the first time. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to Riding Horses. We will see you next time.